Thanks so much for coming, Tyler. You were the runner-up on Face Off, and we just wanted to talk a little bit about you. What got you into doing makeup? Like, what was it that you're like, I want to do effects, I want to do makeup? What was it?
Well, it's interesting because ever since I was a really young kid, my parents came to me, do you know you made this when you were little? I'm like, what are you talking about? I would make things out of tape, anything I could find. So I always had a very creative and inventive mind as a kid. And it kind of just spilled out of control from there. I mean, I got my first love for special effects when I got a copy of Fangoria magazine way back, and I noticed on the back there was a ad for Tom Savini's special makeup effects program, and I knew in 8th grade I wanted to go there, so I actually stuck with it, and as soon as I graduated I applied and I got in, and it kind of branched from there.
That's amazing. So yeah. When you saw that Fangoria magazine, like, did you know about Tom Savini prior to that?
Yeah.
Or so you knew about it, you knew that this is what you wanted to do. What movie do you think is Tom Savini's greatest when it comes to effects?
I mean, definitely, of course, Friday the 13th. I mean, that was one of his biggest films that, he's put all of his makeup into, and I mean, he's the man of the 80s. He's the special effects guy of all the 80s films, slasher films, so that's how I know.
That's awesome. Now, have you ever had a chance to meet Tom Savini?
Yeah.
What was that like?
It was amazing. It was awesome. It's just cool because, I mean, his school is absolutely amazing. He's there. He's helping you out. I was happy to get the Tom Savini Special Makeup Effects Award too, so that was pretty, it was pretty cool. So not only did I get to meet him, but he told me that you are, one of my top students, and it's awesome. So I worked very hard.
So how did you go from Tom Savini's school, how did you end up on the Face Off TV show?
Well, it was really interesting about like halfway through the program, I was really interested in medical prosthetics. I really wanted to focus on, using my talents to help people, just because, I love blood and guts and gore, but I thought there would be something a little bit more impressive in it to me. I felt like doing really, hyper-realistic prosthetics, silicone prosthetics, and as soon as I graduated, I landed my first job in New York as a prosthetic technician. And I was responsible for making custom silicone appliances for amputees. And it literally has branched off from there. As soon as I got that job, I loved it. And after 2.5 years, I kind of moved away from that and got into the dental field. So I was a prosthetic dental technician for the next 4 years. So I've had over 8 years experience in the medical prosthetic world, and in between I was doing a little special effects thing. So having the meticulous skills in dentistry and medical, I was able to translate that and make my work look as realistic as possible.
That's amazing. That has to be like a little advantage over other contestants on Face Off, where they're trying to, maybe build something or work with something that they've never done before, but yet you could probably whip it out very quickly. Did you see that on the show?
That was one thing. They all hated me for it. They're like, how are you getting things done so quickly? I finished a lot of my work before last looks even, and I was doing touch-ups. They would get so mad at me, but I always looked at the clock. It's kind of like a game. Let's see if I can beat it. I come from a family who their time management is right to the T. You know what I mean? I'm outside doing stuff, chopping wood, things like that. It's just, you got to get up in the morning, you got to do things, you got to get things done. So I always translate that into my work and do it in a way where the detail, my passion for it all comes together. And I like to make things perfect, but in a quick manner.
Very neat, very interesting. What do you think was your greatest success on Face Off in terms of a creation that you made? I know they had like a bunch of different challenges for you guys to make certain kind of monsters. What do you think was your best? If you had to look at one and be like, I think this was my best work.
I think that there was actually a couple, but I think one of the most remarkable ones for me was the werewolf. And one of the reasons why that was a very powerful episode for me emotionally too was that episode. I think it was episode 14. And I was feeling it. The competition was weighing on me, and I was in a rut. And I talked about this in a speech I gave at my brother's graduation. I was the guest speaker there, and I talked about how, when you realize that you are in control of your own destiny, and you reach those feelings inside, and okay, am I gonna go home? Am I gonna win? And it's just one of those things you think, what's going on and what am I going to do? And I pulled myself together. I really looked into myself, and I'm like, you can do this. And from that episode on, I feel like I'm changed, because I really found that confidence inside me, and it pushed me to the finale.
That's pretty interesting. To me, werewolves are creatures that they're either like hit or miss. I mean, you could see, because I think they're very, I've never made anything like you do, but to me, they seem like they're very difficult creatures to make.
Absolutely.
To me, I think the Howling is the pinnacle of what a werewolf should look like. Did you model your character after any certain...
Yes, one of my biggest fans who was the guest judge of that was Patrick Tatopoulos, who of course designed the werewolves in Underworld. There was that, and of course the werewolves from The Howling, like you said, are one of my favorite werewolves of all time. And he told me, out of all the contestants, as soon as that walked out, they had the silhouette of the background, he goes, that's a werewolf. You know, so it was like, oh my God. You know, like if he wants me to help him out in Underworld 10, let me know, I'm right here, you know? So he's thinking of me, hopefully, but definitely werewolves are one of my favorite characters of all time, or creatures even to work, but there is definitely, definitely have a certain look. I really don't like werewolves that are like too squished or something. I really like the snout, but of course for a makeup it's kind of difficult. I try to do something that was in mid-mutation, but also keeping it very realistic and not cartoony. I think that was the key, and I tried to do that the best I could with my model that I had that day.
That's pretty awesome. I think you did a great job.
Thank you.
By the way, it was awesome. One thing I wanted to ask you, Tyler, there's, you probably get this question a lot. You know, there's a lot of iconic characters out there like Freddy Krueger, Jason Voorhees. What would be your sort of dream job to have someone come to you and be like, hey Tyler, we have this franchise, let's say Friday the 13th, and we want to do Jason a little different, or is there a franchise like that you would love to jump on and maybe be a part of, maybe recreate the main character? Or I know it's a difficult question.
That's a difficult question. I don't want to get shot for saying something wrong, but wow. Gosh, that's like an untouchable area. I mean, again, I love werewolves, so I would love to see another werewolf franchise. Even, I mean, nothing like Twilight or this other craziness going on, but something that's like, you know, I would love to see a really good creature film that kind of has there's no holding back. Right. You know, I'm so sick of these quick shot things. The suspense is like, come on, rip someone's face off, show the guts, do no cuts. I would love to see something that goes complete attack, rip, tear, and there's no cuts in between.
Right.
I want to see that. Why hasn't that been shown yet?
It's interesting. I mean, there's so many, what's your thoughts on a lot of people are going to CGI as opposed to like general makeup. So, I mean, I wanted to get your opinion because, you know, you're well known from Face Off. So I wanted to, we never got to see CGI and that. It's strictly like makeup. But what's your thoughts on that?
Well, it's interesting with Face Off. I mean, one of the biggest judges is Neville Page, and he created all the avatars in Avatar, all the characters. And it's interesting because he doesn't just do digital work, he does prosthetics and things too, so he knows. But in the world of CG, it's a tool. And as a makeup artist, you work together. You know, some people overdo it, some people, use it in a sense, but we're in a world now that everything's digital. But there are ways to migrate them, marry them together. Right. You know, so there will always be a need for a makeup artist. It's not, I mean, come on, you can totally tell that things are CG, and I mean, Sharknado, love it, but I mean, come on, it was so ridiculous. But for a franchise like The Walking Dead, I'm sure T-Dog can tell you about that, but that's a perfect blend of CG actually and makeup. I mean, the blood splatter and things are CG, but it's done in a way where it's married together perfectly. So there's not things overdone, it looks really real. So again, CG can be used and abused, but it's also a great tool. I mean, I'm not against it whatsoever. Again, when it's overdone, it just takes away from what could be physically there.
Right. Let's go back to Face Off a second, Tyler. When you knew the show was popular before you got on. Did you ever realize how popular it was? Like, did you realize you'd start to become like a household name that people would notice when you were out there, and people like friending you on Facebook. I mean, what has it been like?
No, I would have never thought in my life that I have over like 6,000 Twitter followers. It's crazy. I mean, it's continuing every day, but no, I really didn't think. I just thought, in my head, I'm just like, this is something that I love to do, and it just happened. You know what I mean? It's still, the benefits are still coming from it. The opportunities are, rolling in, and it's awesome. It's hard to explain. It's just because you got to experience it. But at the same time, it's like, heck, bring on All-Stars. I'd do it all over again.
Yeah. So what would you say? Your favorite memory of Face Off was. Looking back on your whole time when you were there. Would it be like the people you met? Was there like a certain something that happened there?
I definitely think the mesh between our cast members. I mean, I think our season of so far, even though season 7 is still going, I think we were the drama-free season, and we were the closest. I mean, I still talk to almost everybody. I mean, Rashad and I are like best friends. We're always talking, hanging out. We've been traveling together, doing things too. So we all keep in touch. We're all very, very close. And I think the other thing too was kind of like the free-for-all of material we could use. I'm mixing molds. I know that in my head, this is $600. Okay, thank you. You know what I mean? Getting yelled at by the staff because I drop things, and that I know that costs hundreds and hundreds of dollars. But I think that was cool too, is the unlimited supplies, like a kid in a candy store, and you walk in, okay, I gotta use this, this, and this, because I know, like, that's what's holding me back is how much these things cost, Materials are expensive in the world of special effects, so.
That's pretty awesome. Now, one question I had for you, Tyler, the thing that I find really cool about Face Off is not only the things that you guys come up with, but it's actually the models themselves who have to sit there through hours and hours of makeup. Like, could you recall an experience you had like that when you were putting makeup on someone? Something that you recall from that, maybe how long it took, or?
Yeah, the models are actually in the makeup for, I would say, over 8 hours from start to finish. I mean, we have 4 hours in last looks, and no, I'm sorry, 1 hour in last looks and 4 hours like before last looks. So when the models come in, not only are they getting the application, but they have to wait in between. When we have our breaks in between, for a couple hours between stage changes and things like that. So these models are in there forever, and they do get touched up. There is somebody who's there who touches them up in between just to make sure things aren't falling off them, and. One of my really good model buddies, Omar, and of course Megan, who is a reoccurring model constantly on the season because she's such a great performer. I used her 3 times purposely because she can perform so well. She's a little blonde girl that I'm sure you know. She's been in a couple 2 winning characters of mine on the series. So, but what's interesting is the models come in and they know they have to go through strict testing to make sure the glues and adhesives are okay for them, and also they're not claustrophobic, and that's one thing too. We can't really block their mouths. There are some characters that had to rethink. I'm like, oh wait, I can't do that because I can't block the models from like not eating, and that's one of the hardest things too. It's things you don't really think about, but like we wanna. And I have a background in skincare as well, along with special effects, and. Out of everybody, they told me like, wow, you really take care of your model. I'm like, well, of course. I want to make sure I'm not like jabbing them with the brush or anything like that, getting in their eyes. I did have one scare tactic where I was hot gluing a costume onto, during the finale actually, on one of the dancers, not the normal models, the dancers. And the hot glue, the gun like kicked back and the hot glue squirted on his side of his stomach. And I'm like, my first reaction was with my hand, let me press it on there. And he's like screaming, and like the production came over, and I'm like, oh my gosh, guys, I'm so sorry. So sorry, but my hand's still on him, you know what I mean? But it, went away really quick. But it was just like when you're in like a quick, sometimes you're not thinking. The things you do, you make mistakes, I think Rashad did it actually. He's, spilled glue on people and dripped in their eyes. So it's like we do things, not because we're being careless, we're really being respectful of the models, but at the same time it's like we're in a rush too.
Right.
So it's sometimes we're not always thinking, whoops, sorry, you know what I mean? But, pins get going through skin to pin things together. It's just like, oh geez, but sometimes we're doing things by ourselves or with a partner at least, but when you're in a quick time restraint, it's hard to to think, in a quick way,
Right. You mentioned, Tyler, about the opportunities that have come your way from Face Off. Is it anything you can mention? If not, that's fine. But I was wondering if there's any film that you're working on currently, or anything like that you could share.
Well, yeah, I mean, no films at the moment, but what I am working on is I'm going to a lot of conventions. I have wonderful opportunities, a potential class going on for the Warner Theater, which is a local theater here in Torrington, in Connecticut. Also, I'm in the process of launching my own product. I have a couple things in works. I own my own company. I'm an inventor. So I'm coming up with my own products to bring them to market. So I have a lot of potential buyers interested at the moment.
That sounds great. Could you talk a little bit about the product that you're making?
Yeah. I invented this product called Wonderband Systems. It's a interchangeable, customizable tool holding device. I invented the product back in 2011, and I patented it recently. It's still patent pending. And what it does, I actually use it on the show. It kind of holds all my brushes and things that I want on me. You've seen it, yeah. Yeah, it's actually one of the bands. I just don't have anything on it right now.
Okay.
But that little tool has saved my ass so many times in the show. So it was really great. I got to wear the prototype on the show, and right now I'm working with suppliers and a manufacturer getting it out. So it's been a long process. It's just me and my partner working on this together, and getting it out there. I'm excited. So I've been busy working on my own products. I never thought I'd be doing that, but
that's amazing. Have the other cast members of Face Off saw you with that, and did they inquire about it? Did they say?
Oh yeah, they're all begging me for it. They're like, all right, of course I'm gonna give it to them because I love them all. They're like, when is it coming out? When is it coming? I'm like, guys, come on, it's just me doing it. So, but they all can see the use for it. So it's cool, and it's good to know that I have something that people want. It's me. I'm a perfectionist again, so I want to make it perfect before it comes out.
Right. Well, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
We just wanted to close this interview, ask you if there anything you'd like to say to your fans of Face Off, and would you like to give them a shout out or say anything?
Yeah, definitely. You got to come to the Connecticut Horror Fest. I mean, this is awesome. You can follow me on Twitter at WonderBandMan, and stay creative, guys.